Welcome back. This is section 1.2 in the Blitzer 3rd edition, Common Denominators using Prime Factorization. It's the end of section 1.2. It's the third part in this video sequence. Again, read section 1.2. So we looked at fractions with common denominators. We looked at a simple fraction without common denominators where we could determine what the common denominator was quite easily. But what about something like this? I want the lowest common denominator. It's not that apparent. Well, luckily we have a method. So this is the method to find the lowest common denominator. We're going to be using the denominators here, and the way we're going to do this is we're going to start out by finding the prime factorization of each denominator. You remember what prime factorization was? Prime factorization was writing each number as a product of numbers, each of those numbers being prime. So we'll start with 24, the first denominator. 2 divides into 24, and it leaves me with 2 times 12. And we'll just keep that 12 in our heads, and we'll realize that 2 divides also into 12, 2 times 6. But 2 divides into 6 as well as 2 times 3. So if I were to multiply 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, I would get 24. So I'm saying out loud how I go about finding the prime factorization. I usually start with 2. Does 2 divide into the number evenly? And you can always tell by seeing if that number is even. This is even, so I know 2 divides into 30. It's 2 times 15. Then I think to myself, okay, 15. 2 does not divide into 15 because it's odd, but 3 does. I keep going up the list of primes, 2, 3, 5, 7, etc. So 2 times 15, 15 was 3 times 5, and that's as far as I can go. So I've got the prime factorization of each denominator. Then we're going to list the different primes. So in this case we have 2, we have 3, and we have 5. So I've just taken from these prime factorizations, I said, well, we have a 2, we have a 3, and we have a 5. So I'll just list those. I know my least common denominator is going to be 2 times 3 times 5. I just don't know how many. What we want to do is we want to take these, each of these in the list, and determine how many times we're going to use them. And this is how that works. Let me erase this. Get a different color. So I'll start with 2. Alright, so I'm going to list out, this is going to be my lowest common denominator right over here. So I'll start with the first one, 2. How many times? I'm going to take it the most it occurs in any denominator. So 2 occurs 3 times in 24, and it occurs once in 30. So I'm going to take it 3 times. I'm basically going to take 2 times 2 times 2 and say that's at least part of my least common denominator. Alright, so we've got the 2's. Now I'm going to look at 3. 3 occurs once in 24, and it occurs once in 30. So I will take it once. Notice I only take it once. Even though it occurs twice in all of them, I only want the most times it occurs in any denominator, in any one denominator. Next we'll look at 5. Well, there is no 5 in 24, so it occurs 0 times. But it occurs once in 30. So the most times it occurs in any denominator is once. So I'll take it once. This is the least common denominator. If I multiply all this together, I get 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 3 times 5. 8 times 3 is 24. And 24 times 5 is equal to 120. That is my least common denominator. We might as well solve this problem. So I have 5 over 24 minus 1 over 30. I'm going to rewrite that as 5 over 24 times the number 1. Remember, I want this denominator to be 120. So I need two numbers that I multiply together that multiply to 120. I could certainly divide 24 into 120, or I can go back and look at my prime factorizations. So I'm at 24. 24, get a different color here. 24 has a 2, a 2, a 2, and a 3. If I look at my least common denominator, there's a 2, a 2, a 2, a 3, and a 5. What's missing out of 24 is the 5. If I took 24, this number 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, and multiplied it by 5, I'd have my lowest common denominator. So just by looking at these prime factorizations, it's easy then to go back and say, well, what I need here is to multiply by 5. 24 times 5 gives me 120. Remember, I need to multiply by the number 1, that is 5 over 5. So now, if I took 5 and multiplied the numerator by 5, the denominator by 5, I would have a fraction for the first piece of this subtraction that had a denominator of 120. Now I'm going to subtract 1 over 30. 30, well, what do I need to multiply that by? Let's go back again. What do you think we need to multiply by? Thirty has a 2, a 3, and a 5. In my lowest common denominator, I have a 2, a 3, and a 5. What's missing from 30 is the 2 times 2, or 4. So I can go back and say, well, then that must be 4 over 4. 4 times 30, yeah, that's 120. So now this also is 120. I can rewrite my problem now like this. Remember, we're multiplying, so it's 5 times 5, or 25, over 120, minus 4, 4 times 1, over 120, which gives me 21 over 120. I think those factor. Let's see, just to save space, I'll move this to the right. So this is 3 times 7. 3 goes into 124 40 times. So notice I'm multiplying. I have the same number in the numerator as the denominator, which means they cancel. And my answer now is 7 over 40. Alright, so let me just recap this method because it gets used often and you'll find it in other courses as well. To find a common denominator, a least common denominator, factor both denominators in your problem. Once you've come up with the factors, list them out, and then use each the most time it occurs in any denominator. Multiplying all that together will give you your least common denominator. And that's how we did this problem.